Don't because
All right.
that's his son. I thought you were gonna be.
All right. So. All right. So we are going to enter the old city of Jerusalem from the eastern gate, which is called the St. Stephen Gate, Sheep Gate. Another victim.
Into the eye of the needle.
Which one is the victim?
Of course, the man. That's the question. Remember that because of you we get up from heaven. You pushed us to eat the apple. All right. So it's the Sheep Gate, St. Stephen Gate,
There you have it.
and Lion's Gate. Sheep Gate because from here they used to bring sheep towards the area of the temple to sell it. That was the sheep market inside. And then St. Stephen Gate because St. Stephen was dragged outside the city to be stoned and to be the first martyr in Christianity. By the way, I got married in St. Stephen Church. I surrender. And then you have the Lion's Gate because Suleiman the Magnificent, when he built the wall, his consulted him or advised him to put his logo, the lion, so that the people would be afraid from him because most of the Arabs were coming from the Arab Peninsula, from the east, entering Jerusalem from this gate.
Hindi natin alam kung saan. Alam mo ba? Doon. Saan?
Ito sa baba niya, yun yung araw eh. Sige, meron din dyan. Sister.
Pools inside Jerusalem trying to collect water. The pool behind you is called Bethesda pool. That was collecting water, rainwater. As you can see, we are at the lower part of Jerusalem. The rest of Jerusalem is higher than where we are. So during winter, all the water will drain and could be collected in this pool. And during heavy rain, we have flash flood in this pool. The Greeks believed that the goddess of health lived in this pool. Again, just to remind you that I told you that Jesus Christ performed many miracles during his ministry, but only few are mentioned in the Bible, and that's because we have lesson learned behind them. And he was passing by the pool over here where he saw a crippled person, a disabled person, lying down waiting for the flash flood so that the first one who will touch the water will be cured. He was there for 38 years. And when Jesus Christ saw him, he told him, "What are you doing?" Everybody knew the answer, but Jesus Christ wanted to hear it from him. I'm waiting for the flash flood, and every time we have flash flood, someone before me will reach the water. Now this is very important because when Jesus Christ cured him, he told him to carry his mattress. Now many people would say that Jesus Christ was against the Sabbath. He was all the time breaking the Sabbath, which is not true, because the Sabbath was made for man, not the man was made for Sabbath. When he told him to carry his mattress and go, for that person who was waiting here for 38 years means that he was a homeless person. For that person to not be able to reach the water and somebody else would reach the water means that somebody else was helped to reach the water. So he was a lonely person. So when Jesus Christ told him to carry his mattress, he actually told him to carry all his belongings with him. That man, even though he was lying down for 38 years, you cannot just tell him, all right, wait till the Sabbath and then you start walking. So he just ran into the city, jumping happily. And the priests were not happy to see him because he was carrying his mattress. But they were not angry when he was 38 years lying down believing in a Greek goddess. Okay? That's what happened nowadays in our life actually. Many people are afraid of MVI. They have the garlic, they have the blue eye on top of their houses and they don't have crosses. As I told you, we're in Shepherd's Field. We can pray anytime, anywhere we want. But because we have lots of churches built on special sites like this one, if we stretch our hands, we will hit both hands with different church towers in this country. And that's why in this church in particular, we pray for all those disabled people that we know, or even for any sickness that we are suffering ourselves. So I will give you some time to do that by your own later on. The Crusaders came to this land mainly as to respond to the call of Pope Urban II to free Jerusalem and to create the kingdom of Jerusalem, the Christian kingdom. But also there was political reasons behind that. In Europe during the 11th century there was no war, and it was the Industrial Revolution. The population in Europe doubled. And there was a law that only the first son inherit his parents. So the other brothers will be lords without land. So they were also encouraged, socially speaking, economically speaking, to join the crusade so that they will come here and become landlords again. It took them 5 years from Europe all the way to here. And that's mainly because many of the crusades, they settled on the way, as when they found weak village or town or city or even country, they occupied it and stayed there. So not all crusades who left Europe reached Jerusalem. But those who made it, they reached Jerusalem in 1099, they freed Jerusalem, and now we have a government, a political government. It's now time for business. What is the best business of this country? Pilgrimage. So they started building churches. They built it quickly. And that's why the Crusader churches are smaller in size and less decorated than the Byzantine one. We had a good example on the Church of Ascension on top of the mountain, where the church just built a small shrine up there. So they built churches on top of sites that they were preserved by the Byzantine ruins to point out the place. But also, they came with their own tradition. And that's why they expanded the pilgrimage a week of Easter, starting with Palm Sunday and the Good Friday that we are going to do the way of the cross procession in a while. So they built the church behind me as well. So there was a Byzantine church on top of the pool because of the miracle, where you will see part of the apse ruins. Down there, that was the Byzantine one destroyed in 618. And then the Crusaders built on 1/4 of the size of the Byzantine one, where you see the remains of the apse over there. And they built the church behind me called it St. Anne Church. As Joachim was a priest in the temple, they thought, or they predicted that Our Lady's family were living here, and that's the area where she was born. So the church behind me is St. Anne Church, or the birthplace of Our Lady. But they built the church in such a way that they have one of the best Crusader churches that have very nice acoustic. When the Muslims took over in 1187, they knocked down that church, but they didn't knock down this church because of the acoustic. And they converted it into a madrasa, which is an Islamic theological school teaching Arabic history and religion. And they gave it the name Salahiyya, dedicated to Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi. In the 1850s, the Turks were living in a recession, and they started giving gifts back to the European communities. That's what even some historians call it, the peaceful crusader coming to the land. And this church was given to the French government as a gift, where up till now this church is the main basilica for the French diplomats or the French people living in this country. It is run by the consulate, and all the Christian celebration happens over here, especially Christmas, Easter. So, we read the Bible of John chapter 5, just to remind you of the words of the Bible, of the miracle, and then we will go together to the church to enjoy the acoustic and sing a hymn together in the church, and then give you time by your own, to look around, and also if you want to have a moment of silence with yourself inside the church, outside the church.
Jesus heals on the Sabbath. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, in Hebrew called Bethesda, which has 5 porticos. In these lay a multitude of invalids, blind, lame, paralyzed. One man was there who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him and knew that he had been lying there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be healed?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is troubled, and while I am going another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your pallet and walk." And at once the man was healed, and he took up his pallet and walked. Now that day was the Sabbath. So the Jews said to the man who was cured, "It is the Sabbath. It is not lawful for you to carry your pallet." But he answered them, "The man who healed me said to me, 'Take up your pallet and walk.'" They asked him, "Who is the man who said to you, 'Take up your pallet and walk'?" Now the man who had been healed did not know who it was, for Jesus had withdrawn, as there was a crowd in the place. Afterward, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, "See, you are well, sin no more, that nothing worse befall you." The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had healed him. And this was why the Jews persecuted Jesus, because he did this on the Sabbath. But Jesus answered them, My Father is working still, and I am working. This was why the Jews sought all the more to kill him, because he not only broke the Sabbath, but also called God his Father, making himself equal with God.
que había salud en el agua. Yo entendí la palabra que todo el mundo conoce. Spa. ¿Qué significa spa? Salud del agua. Salud por el agua. Hay muchos que dicen, no voy a poner un spa. ¿Qué significa spa? Salud por ellos. Era una cultura romana que pensaba que tenía enfermedad, que tenía pecado. La salud por el agua. Claro, ahí tú tienes en el agua el poder de la salud. Ahora que significa spa, salud por agua. ¿Viste la costumbre romana? Ahora vas a ver Herodes como era romano, cuando una manzana, no podían faltar las leches. Él la tenía caliente, fría de todos los temperaturas. Porque la historia romana, o la práctica romana, era de creer en la piscina y el agua, en los estanques. Y después tienes
Ah, excuse-moi.
Atrás.